All right. So, thank everyone for, I'm sorry, I know someone did say they have a question. Feel free to leave your questions in the chat. We have a presentation that our Director of Financial Aid will be presenting, giving you pretty much a lot of the facts and fictions that you probably heard about the financial aid and just the process in general. Throughout the presentation, feel free to ask questions throughout the chat. Our director will be addressing some of those questions throughout the presentation, as well as looking in the chat and answering those questions out loud for all. My name is Calvin Kynes. I'm the Associate Dean of Admissions and Recruitment here at Benjamin Franklin. I want to thank you all for coming out this evening and taking part of our series that we'll be having. So this first series is going to be really geared toward, fully understanding the financial aid process. The next series will be, I believe Shani will talk more so about it. But at this time, I want to introduce our Director of Financial Aid, Shani Wilkerson.
Hi.
Share your screen.
Oh, you want me to share now? Can everyone see my screen? Yeah, okay, great. Just echoing Calvin's sentiment, I want to welcome everybody to the session tonight. I know it's a busy time, probably just finishing up for the day, getting ready for dinner, but I did want to kind of roll out a series of times for us to gather and know about the financial aid process, even though it is months ahead of the beginning of the school year. You can never know too much or too early, especially with financial aid. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of steps in the process. So the goal for tonight is to kind of get everybody at the starting line and let you know what to expect if you haven't started the process, or even if you have. One guest had already mentioned that she submitted her FAFSA. So I'll definitely go over information about what to expect next. There are definitely times where you'll be able to ask questions, or if it's something that's immediate that you don't want to forget, feel free to put it in the chat and the admissions team will field those questions and I'll be able to answer them as we go along. So the title of this slideshow is just to be fit with financial aid. Being fit means knowing what you need to do, when you need to do it, how you need to do it, so that you can ultimately get the job done and make sure that you're getting the most financial aid that you're eligible for. And tonight, like I said, I'm going to cover kind of the life cycle of the financial aid application process, how to complete the FAFSA, where to go to do that, additional forms that may be needed to determine your financial aid. Some students only need to complete the FAFSA, and that's enough for us to come up with a financial aid package, though at times there are additional documents that you and your family might need to submit, either request directly from the Department of Education, or during the review process, our financial aid team might need additional paperwork from you. After that, I definitely do want to discuss exploring your financing options. For some of you, whether you've received your financial aid award or not already, there still may be uncovered costs that you have questions of, well, how are you going to meet those educational costs? Do you want to take a loan? Do you want to do a payment plan, or exploring other ways to finance your bill? So that definitely is built into this presentation tonight. And then, as Calvin said, at this time of year, whether you're coming straight out of high school or you've been in the workforce or, doing other things in life, and now you want to come back into the education scene, there's a lot of information out there that's good. And we're glad that, friends, family, community members all discuss financial aid, but then unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation that's out there. And sometimes students who don't know the difference between the facts and the fiction, ultimately, sometimes they do lose out on dollars that they could be eligible for. So again, at BFIT, I want to make sure that you are getting everything that you're eligible for, you're doing it in a timely manner, and that it's a pretty easy process for you. So again, welcome to tonight, and I hope that this is helpful for you. Just a bit about myself. I've been here at BFIT now going on 4 years. I've worked primarily in higher ed all of my professional life. I've worked at various schools throughout the city of Boston, some community colleges, small universities, larger universities. So I really do have a feel for, what families are experiencing, some of the things that make you a bit anxious, things that make you nervous about the process. Of course, anytime you're talking about money, whether you have money or not, that is a very sensitive topic. So the goal I have for the financial aid team is to make sure that we're addressing your concerns, that if you need a little extra support, whether it's walking through any of the processes, applying for the FAFSA, completing any of the additional paperwork, that we have a team that's ready, willing, and able to help you through that. And then to also talk long-term, whether it's about financial literacy or what to do when it's time to pay back your loans, or what if you want to go back to school down the road, what does that mean for your financial aid? So it's not just, in my mind, about getting you a financial aid, a package, and sending you on your way. It's really making sure that we're educating students from beginning to end and making sure that you feel comfortable in the process. So I just gave a little bit of my background, some little tidbits about myself and interests of mine. But again, higher ed is really my passion. Helping students through the financial aid or just the enrollment process period is really why I've been in this work for so long. So I hope to eventually meet all of you in person when we are open and everyone can come back to campus. But for now, we will still meet, although it's a virtual session. If you feel like taking a screenshot of our contact information for the office, feel free. This is all information you can find on our website, but I did just want to give everybody the chance to kind of jot down how they can reach us. On campus, again, when the campus is open and things are safe for folks to come back to the building, we're located on the first floor in the Kendall building in the admissions suite. So if you've been to campus before and been to the admissions office, my office is all the way towards the back. We can also be reached by phone. Our enrollment services team is available, Monday through Friday, most holidays. If it's not a federal holiday, they are still taking calls and emails, but regular business hours, 8:30 to 5. Sometimes it might be later if it's during peak times during the enrollment process, and occasionally on the weekends. So especially now when we know that a lot of students are applying for financial aid, getting their awards, and having a lot of questions, our team is ready and available again to address those concerns. And of course, you can reach us by email, financialaid@bfit.edu. Any question that you have, it could be 2 o'clock in the morning, it could be Sunday afternoon, it could be 6 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. You can certainly send an email to our enrollment services team, and they do a really great job of making sure they're addressing that concern and getting back to you as soon as possible. I'll just leave this slide up here just for a couple more seconds in case anyone wants to get that information before I continue. Next, the slide is really just kind of giving an overview of the life cycle of the financial aid process from beginning to end. I wanted to highlight on, the importance of dates and deadlines, especially where we are right now in the financial aid calendar. Hopefully everybody here either has, thought about the FAFSA, maybe started the process, maybe even have received their financial aid award. We really want students to apply for financial aid, even though it's early, because you can meet the state deadline of May 1st. Now, the reason why the state has a deadline of May 1st, as opposed to the FAFSA, which you can file, federally, nationwide, anytime throughout the year, what Massachusetts and what a lot of other states do is they give a deadline so that the state can determine how much of their own funding can be added to your federal financial aid or your institutional financial aid package. So the state of Massachusetts does offer the Massachusetts State Scholarship. It does depend on your level of need, but it can be anywhere from $600 all the way up to roughly $1,800 for the year, and that's free money. It's not a loan, you don't need to repay it, but if you are eligible, again, that's money that you'd be able to receive in addition to anything else given by BFIT or by the federal government. So if you want to be considered for the MASS grant, if you're hoping that you might become eligible and see that as part of your financial aid award, I do urge everyone to get your FAFSA in on or before May 1st so that you can meet the state deadline. When you're doing your FAFSA, you want to make sure that even though you can add up to 10 schools, that BFIT is one of those 10, if not the first, and that we have our school code, which is 002151. Without us being listed on your FAFSA, there isn't a way for anyone in the enrollment services team or myself to request that information from the Department of Ed. Essentially, you naming BFIT on your FAFSA will allow the federal government to send us that full report of everything contained in your FAFSA, which is what we need to determine your financial aid. So again, sometimes students will submit their FAFSA and they submitted it, but maybe they forgot to add our name or add our school code, and they're waiting for that financial aid award, yet the school never received that information. So if you're submitting your FAFSA, say tonight, and it's been 2 weeks and you haven't heard anything from BFIT, definitely give us a call. We want to make sure that we have that information, or if we don't, that would be a good indication that you might want to go back, check your FAFSA record, your student aid report, and make sure that BFIT is listed. As well, if there's any additional documentation that is required, you want to submit that in addition to the FAFSA. Some of those forms of documentation might be income information, tax information from calendar year 2019 for you or your parents. It might be a copy of your citizenship documentation, so a passport, birth certificate, certificate of naturalization. These are things that we need to report to the federal government to determine your eligibility for Title IV funds. It might be, if you're a male over the age of 18, you might need to register for selective service. So you don't have to worry about remembering all of that now. Our enrollment service team will notify you by mail, by email. They'll do outreach by phone to let students know as soon as we get their FAFSA if there are additional things that we need to determine your aid. Once we get your FAFSA and we do that full review, we're then going to go ahead and award a financial aid package to you. For every student, that award's going to be different because it's going to be based on the information contained in your FAFSA. But for most students, it is going to be some combination of grants, loans, scholarships. It might include student employment or work study. So when you get that award, you definitely want to go over it in detail. And that is a really great time to reach out to our team if you have questions, because again, we want to make sure that you understand, how much you're getting, what that means in terms of any out-of-pocket costs that you might have to cover, and understanding of your total package, how much might be loans, how much might be grants and scholarships. And then finally, as I had mentioned, once you get your aid package, you're then going to decide how you're going to finance the balance. And again, the same way financial aid awards can vary from student to student, your financial plan can be different than people in your class, folks that that are coming to BFIT. It's really going to depend on what's best for you or you and your family. And again, we do offer a number of different options. There's payments plans, there's loans, there's a new partnership that we've established called an income share agreement, where it's not a loan, but you can repay your educational costs after you graduate, once you're working and have a steady salary. So again, this is just kind of a really broad outline of what you can expect. So hopefully at this point, you can identify just from the breakdown of where you are in the process. Some of you might be at that place where you've gotten your award and you're now thinking about how you're going to finance for the year, or you might be at the very beginning. Either way, we're ready to help. And we want to make sure that you're comfortable during that process. Calvin, are there any questions that you think I need to address at this point, or should I continue?
Someone asked, can the parent and the student both apply for financial aid for Benjamin Franklin in the same year?
If the parent and the student are both going to be students?
Yes.
Yes, that answer is yes. Anybody who is a student, whether you're siblings, parent and child, you both can apply for financial aid. But of course, you're going to want to make sure that both you and your parent, or if it's the parent that's here in the chat, you and your child, create separate applications, separate contact information. You're going to get 2 different financial aid awards. But yes, anybody that's enrolled towards a degree or a certificate can and should file for financial aid each year.
Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else, or should I move on?
So if someone wants to check to see if they had all their documents in, they just either email the financial aid office or call?
Yep, they can do both. Depending on how long ago you submitted and we received your FAFSA, typically the turnaround time is, several business days. So if we get a FAFSA on Monday and we realize that there's additional documentation, you should receive either a phone call, an email, or a hard copy, letter in the mail within the next 7 to 10 business days, if not sooner. So again, depending on how long it's been, you can definitely reach out to our office as early as tomorrow. So long as you give them your name, we don't ask for your social security number or anything like that over the phone. They can look up your file and see if anything's needed, or if nothing's needed, tell you, kind of when you can expect that financial aid award to be sent out. And as for right now, just a note on that, because we are still in a virtual environment, we are emailing all financial aid awards to students directly. Once we're back on campus, we might get back in the habit of putting them out in the mail, but for right now, it's just easier to send them directly to you. So if you want to check and make sure that we have the correct email address for you, or if you've, used sometimes students who are in high school are going to use their BPS email, which is fine, but once you leave school, we don't have another way to contact you. So if you want to create, a brand new Gmail, Yahoo, any other kind of email address, make sure that we have that on record.
And can you quickly explain the ISA, the income share agreement?
Sure. So income share agreements, that's a financing option that probably a lot of people have not heard about. But since we're here in Boston, BFIT has really great industry partners, as well as financing partners who are looking to make financing a college education easier for students, because they know that with a BFIT education, you're going to be able to go out and get really great jobs with pretty decent, if not, better than decent starting salaries. But that students also might be a bit hesitant to take out large loans. So with an income share agreement, depending on your major, and there's a handful of programs that are eligible for this financing option at this time. You can apply for an income share agreement with a company called MentorWorks that is based here in Boston. Again, they have partners throughout many of the different majors that we offer, and it's really a wraparound service. What they're able to do is provide that educational financing up front. So if you're in a 1-year program, or if you're in the second year of a 2-year or the last year of a 4-year program, they are offered to cover your finances in full for the year. So, depending on your financial aid eligibility, if your bill was, say, $6,000 for the year or $10,000 for the year, they can cover up to $15,000 for the year. There's no payment that you need to make while you're in school, and you would not begin repayment until you are actually working in your industry and actually making a certain amount in terms of salary. So it's different from a loan where there's, interest accruing on a loan, or they might have different repayment terms. With the income share agreement, it is just that. You're sharing your future income to repay your educational costs once you were enrolled in school.
And for the programs that are eligible for the income share agreements, we'll be sending out information for the presentation that the MentorWorks will be presenting about the, explaining a little bit more about the income share and, what it takes to qualify for that.
Yep. Yeah, and again, if you're not familiar with an ISA, that's kind of how we, short name for it at BFIT. It's not something that a lot of colleges offer, but again, because we have such a great track record here at BFIT for students graduating and then being able to enter into their fields, making pretty good money. Again, we have education and capital partners that want to make those investments in students' education while they're enrolled. So you definitely will be hearing more about that as time goes on. Again, if you want to take a screenshot of this slide or any others, feel free. But here are just, some quick tidbits about, again, how to apply for FAFSA. The link is provided there, studentaid.gov. Make sure that you don't go to FAFSA.com or any other .com websites. Unfortunately, just like there's a lot of fiction out there, there's a lot of scammers who present themselves as financial aid associates, financial aid assistants, and actually charge fees to make promises to students that they can help them get financial aid or that they can guarantee them scholarships. Please don't ever give anybody or any website a debit card or checking account number, because the FAFSA is free. There's never a fee. There's no enrollment that you need to pay for. It's a free application. So if anybody or any website is trying to get you to pay for that, ignore that and delete, because the FAFSA is free. And unfortunately, again, a lot of families fall victim to these scams that are out there, especially during this time of year, because they know that, students are trying to apply for financial aid. If it's the first time going through this process, if someone presents themselves as being quite knowledgeable, you might look for their help. But again, don't ever give anybody any money to apply for the FAFSA, because that's what FAFSA stands for, free application for federal student aid. Again, our BFIT code is 002151. And if you are a dependent student where you're going to be required to provide your parents' information, both you and your parent will need to create an FSA ID, or Federal Student Aid Identification login. Even though it's one application, both the student and the parent will log in separately to provide their information. And you'll both need 2 separate email addresses so that the Department of Education can verify your identity and then send you the information on how to log in and start and finish your application. Going back to the question that someone had about if a parent and a student are both applying to school, should they both apply for financial aid? In that kind of a scenario, the student would be required to put their parents' information on their FAFSA, but the parent, even though they're the student, would not be required to report their child's income. Let's say the student was working part-time, living at home, and had a job. That parent is not required to report the student's income, but the student is required to report the parent's income. For this upcoming year, for fall 2021, whoever is applying for financial aid is going to be required to provide income and tax information for calendar year 2019. It's what we call prior year information. It's always 2 years behind the current year in school. So, kind of just some things to think about. If you haven't started the financial aid process, you want to have everything kind of handy before you sit down at your computer to do the application, because the FAFSA is going to ask you very detailed information in terms of adjusted gross income, if you worked, how much you paid in taxes, exemptions, household size, things like that. So it's always a good idea to gather that paperwork ahead of time. And then once you submit your application and you get your confirmation that it has been submitted to the Department of Ed, they will send you an automatic student aid report, or a SAR. In that SAR, there will be a data retrieval number, or a DRN. You want to make sure you keep that confirmation email, because again, this is a virtual environment. Everything is submitted online. There's no paper FAFSA application to submit. If for any reason the Department of Ed does not have your FAFSA on file, or something gets lost in transmission between you and them, or between the department and BFIT, keeping that DRN number is the only way that the school would be able to, in that instance, request another record to be sent to us on your behalf. So again, I'll leave this slide up for a couple more seconds if you just want to take a screenshot, because this information right here is really important in terms of getting the process started. In the meantime, Calvin, do you see any questions regarding this info?
No, but there's a question about offering open house for the school. Currently, we do not have any in-person open house planned for the students. We are doing major specific virtual sessions for all the students interested in specific programs, which should be led by the program chairs. So if you're a current student or if you've shown interest in Benjamin Franklin, we'll be sending you emails and text messages about those upcoming sessions that are more major specific. I will post our current virtual tours that we have. It's still up in the air whether or not we will be in person completely in the fall. We're more than likely would, be in the hybrid model that we're currently practicing right now. But more details will be coming in the upcoming weeks.
Okay.
I think that's all.
Okay, I will move on. So again, this is just really reiterating that notion about if there's a request for additional information coming from the financial aid office to please turn those papers around back to us as soon as possible. Again, I know this is a really stressful time for students. If you're in high school, it's the end of your senior year, you've got a lot of stuff going on and we're still living in COVID time. So we don't want to make any more requests, than anyone wants to send paperwork into us. We know that is a lot at times, but that's why our enrollment service team is here to help. So if you do get that email or phone call or request in the mail for proof of citizenship or how to register for selective service or anything like that, and you're unsure of what that actually means or how to obtain those forms, contact our office right away. And, our team is more than happy to, be virtually kind of with you. They don't do Zoom or Teams, but they can be on the phone while you're on your laptop or your phone or your tablet or whatever device you have and direct you on how to get to those websites or how to obtain those links. So if you're asked for one document or there's a list of things that you need to provide, again, don't feel overwhelmed, contact us right away so that we can, continue on with the review. The situation that students find themselves in when they don't respond, or if they respond, way past any deadlines, is that A, it could put your financial aid on hold, and B, you might have missed out on things like Mass Grant or other time-sensitive funds that are awarded because you've missed that deadline. And again, we don't want anyone to, have a financial aid award that's smaller than it should be just because they missed a deadline by a couple days or they only submitted 2 of the 4 documents that were required. So again, I can't stress enough, anytime there's a request for anything, even when you're already enrolled, because you are going to apply for aid each year that you're in school if you're interested in getting, a financial aid award. So this won't be the last time that you go through this process. If you're applying next year and you still have the same questions, that's totally fine. We want to make sure that we help you, no matter where you are in the process. So here's kind of, not the only reason why we're here, but of course, everyone is interested in, okay, well, what does this all mean? What are these financial aid awards? What do they look like? What am I supposed to be, finding in there? What kind of information am I going to get? So this is just a screenshot of another student's award from this current year. And I just wanted to kind of show you the layout of the things that you really should be paying attention to, because again, it can be a bit much. It's a lot of wording. It's a lot of kind of information at you all at once. And again, because we're not on campus, we're used to families, students being able to come in and sit in our office and go over everything line by line. It's a little different doing that over the phone or in a session like this. So I did just want to give you kind of an example of what to look for. As you can see in the top left-hand corner, the budget category and the amounts, this is where the school will estimate kind of what your cost will be for the year. So what we're actually going to bill you for, your tuition, $16,950, that's the total tuition for an average of 2 semesters for someone that's enrolled in a certificate or an associate degree program. If you're enrolling in a bachelor's degree program, it will be $18,190. But I only had one student that I could post at a time. So, whoops, sorry. So there's your tuition that's listed. There's a technology fee that all students are responsible for. That's roughly $800 for the year. And then we do list insurance, not car insurance, not renter's insurance, but actual health insurance that is mandated by the state of Massachusetts for every college student who's enrolled, has to either have the college's insurance coverage or their own insurance coverage. So I would say, the vast majority of students are able to have that cost for $1,800 taken off their bill because they have their own insurance or they're still covered under their parents. So, you can see right now that once you get that letter, you really have to go over it with a fine tooth comb and make sure that what's on there is, applicable to you. And if it's not, and you have questions about reducing any of those costs, definitely you want to give us a call. But on average, we'll just say for this student, their billed expenses from the school, if they needed to pay for insurance, is just over $19,000. To the right of that, we have expenses that are not billed from the college. So you won't see anything from BFIT asking for these amounts. But because you are a college student, these are things that, if you're an independent student and you're living, in the city of Boston and you're paying rent, you're paying a mortgage, you're paying utilities and things like that, in addition to your educational costs, we assume you still have those costs to cover. Your books and supplies, again, that will vary from student to student, major to major. But again, on average, we feel you'll probably spend maybe $1,600 for the year, roughly $800 a semester. It could be more, it could be less. And then transportation, again, once we're able to be back on campus, students are either buying, a weekly or a monthly MBTA pass for the time that they're enrolled, or if you're driving, you're, paying for parking. Either way, there is a transportation cost that we average, it's about $1,200 for the year. So again, even though you're not billed these indirect costs, we still want to add those to the conversation so that when you're making a financing decision, you're thinking about, okay, what is this really going to cost me out of pocket and, billed from the school? What is this education going to cost me for the year? So we do put those things, at the very beginning of the award letter, and then we get down to the nitty gritty and actually listing all of the funds that you're eligible for. So again, this is just one student's financial aid award. It could be different than yours, but most of our students do have some kind of eligibility at some level for the federal Pell Grant. The student's getting it for $6,345. They do get some kind of Franklin assistance grant or college scholarship. Again, it could be a different fund, it could be a different amount for you, but this student, got a scholarship for about $3,300. And then they have their federal loans. Their loans for the year total $5,500. So their total package comes to $15,150. This number right here is what you want to look at in comparison to this number right here, because the difference between the two is going to be what you need to cover out of pocket. And again, that's going to be different for every student. And for this student, maybe they're able to waive the health insurance. That's going to take their bill down by $1,800. But here and still, at this point in the game, that's where you would begin the conversations with our team to come up with a financing option that's going to work for you. Maybe if you're eligible, it's the income share agreement. Maybe it's an additional loan. Maybe you want to do a monthly payment plan. But here's where you can kind of see where the FAFSA work that you did is now resulting in this financial aid award. And then, we're helping you to walk through that process. So again, I've just kind of outlined as well, each and every one of those options, the monthly payment plan, that's something that you would establish with the Office of Student Accounts. You can enroll online, you can do it for each school year. 8 to 10 month payment plans are the options, or you can just pay by semester. So the bills tend to go out about 45 days before the beginning of the next term. You can just pay that amount as they come. Again, you can look at either private or federal educational loans to cover the balance, or you can, again, look into the income share agreement. And I've given the link here to our website where you can see much more about each one of those options in more detail. I did just want to give this time, if you haven't put anything in the chat as of yet, I'm quite sure that, it's a lot to digest at first, but I'm sure there's questions out there, so feel free to ask away.
You can actually unmute yourself and ask the question. I think that we're up to date with most of the questions that were in the chat.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. I was wondering, do you offer work study for the students?
We do. It's not an automatic addition to a financial aid award. Some schools award it automatically, some don't. BFIT doesn't, but it's certainly something that students can look into. On average, students at BFIT are working, no more than 10 hours a week, and we do pay minimum wage or more depending on the job and the department that the student is working in. So yes, we certainly do offer work study each year.
Okay. I am not going to BFIT. It's my son. He's right here.
Okay. Hi.
Who's going to be there?
Excellent.
I don't know if you remember me, but you look almost the same.
Oh.
I remember you from RCC.
Oh my goodness, that was a couple of years ago. Wow.
Yes.
Then.
Yes. You haven't changed a bit.
Well, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Andrea.
Nice to see you.
My name is Andrea, and this is Clemens.
Hi, Clemens. Welcome.
Hi.
Thank you. Have any questions?
I mean, I'm going for the role. Which one I'm
He wants to go into the mechanic training.
automotive
To become a
engineering.
mechanic.
Right. So for the automotive, we'll be sending you out some more information. We'll be having an automotive session April 27th.
Okay.
So,
when can you start the school? I'm sorry.
School starts in September.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
That's good. That's good.
Right.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and he wants information about me too. I want more information about the program for the automotive to become a mechanic.
All I know is it's 10 months long. That's all I
Yeah,
know.
that's okay, but they give you information.
I know that.
Thanks. Yep. So yeah, we'll provide follow up for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
so much.
You're welcome.
You have
Anyone else with questions before we get to the fact versus fiction section?
Hi, good evening. Christopher here.
Hi, Christopher.
I'm just asking, so the financial aid that you receive, does it cover just for, like me, I'm thinking about getting HVAC.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine telling me that it's better for me to do plumbing. So I might be switching over, but I believe they're the same amount, same prices, same intuition fee for both. So
For
but my
plumbing?
question- plumbing, yeah. It's different price? I don't know.
We don't offer plumbing. They may have been talking about electrical to become an electrician, but we don't offer plumbing. We do offer HVAC.
Oh yeah, that's a program that I applied for. But they were this guy was trying to give me some information what I should go into. But nevertheless, so the financial aid that you if you receive the financial aid, does it cover for the whole 10 months, or it cover just half of the it would cover half of the program, like 3 months, like quarterly?
No, when we award financial aid, it's for the entire school year. So
Okay.
it won't be all applied to your bill at once, because you're only going to be billed semester by semester. So if you're in a certificate program that's 2 terms, they'll bill you twice. Your financial aid will be awarded twice. But when you get your full package, the same way in the prior slide, it broke it down by each term. You'll see how much you're going to be eligible for each semester.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a quick question.
Hello.
Hello. My question is about the ISA future.
Mhm.
So in order to do that, do we have to complete the FAFSA first? Or no?
It's not mandatory, but it is good to see if you're eligible for things,
Mhm.
the federal Pell Grant, that's money you don't have to repay, or the Massachusetts State Scholarship.
Okay.
But you can totally apply for an ISA and not do the FAFSA, but I would always encourage every student to at least complete the FAFSA and then make a decision based on what those results are. The FAFSA might say that you're not eligible for any grants and you're going to have to take a loan regardless. And in that case, right, you might really want to consider the ISA, or it might say that you're eligible for funds that you don't have to repay down the line. So it's always best to at least take that and then use the ISA to cover the balance.
And just can you explain the ISA a little bit more? What do you mean by future pay? Like, do you mean you complete the school year, all 4 years, or however long you're going, and then you pay at the end when you get an actual job, or what does that mean?
Yep. So to apply for an ISA, again, there's only a handful of majors that are eligible. If you're in one of these programs, and just to give you an example, there's,
Yeah.
the CAD SolidWorks, there's electronic engineering technology, HVAC, practical electricity. So you have to be already in a certain major,
Okay.
in a 1-year program, or already in the last year of a 2-year or 4-year program. So if you meet all those criteria, and you're approved, yes, that year. So everything that you need for that year, your tuition, your fees, if there's tool charges that are involved, can be covered with the ISA up to $15,000. And as you can see from that prior award letter, we don't have any students that have that much of a bill unless they just haven't completed the FAFSA.
I see.
Event, you'd be able to have that fund up front. And then once you graduate and you're working and you're making more than $25,000, when you would have the repayment agreement with MentorWorks to share your income back to the organization.
Okay.
But during the time that you're in school, there's no payments that are made. It's only after you graduate. So if anything, that's maybe the only link between the ISA and a loan, is that yes, you're repaying after you graduate. But again, the repayment time for the ISA is much shorter than the typical federal loan programs, which are 120 months or 10 years. I believe is between like 3 to 5 years to repay.
And sorry, another question. And I also heard that you guys say you can do monthly payments if we don't get accepted for the FAFSA grant?
Either or, again.
Either or, okay.
And maybe I should have said this at the beginning. You're not required to apply for financial aid. If you just wanted to say, you know what, I've got money saved up, or I'm working and I want to just pay my way through school, you can certainly do that. Again, I would still encourage you, because it's free to do the FAFSA, but you don't need to do the FAFSA to do a payment plan. You can do
okay. I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else before I move on?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay. Hello.
So like I filled out the FAFSA, like I added the school to my FAFSA. So like, what's the next step I should be like take?
Yep. How long ago did you apply?
Did I apply? I don't know. I feel like it was like maybe a month. And then I did like.
If it's been a month.
Later.
So you've already submitted your FAFSA and you haven't heard anything from the school?
No. Like they said, I have an email saying like I'm missing like it says like an application for federal student aid or whatever.
Okay, so that's our indication that you've been admitted, but we're still wondering if you're going to apply for financial aid. So, excuse me, if you have that letter or that email, you can certainly, again, contact our enrollment service team to get for help if you need assistance walking through that process. But what that's saying is we want you to complete the FAFSA. And again, that May 1st deadline is really right around the corner now. So you should certainly start that process so that, at least you can be considered for the Mass Grant on top of everything else.
I thought I already like completed the FAFSA, like adding it. Like what am I supposed to do after that?
So you added us to your FAFSA, but the letter is saying that we don't have that information.
It could have been sent like before I turned it in, but like
Okay. In any event, I would say probably tomorrow is a good time to call our office and see exactly what your status is. Is there additional information that we need from you and that's why you haven't heard anything? Or, have we received that information from the Department of Ed? But I would say, if you have time tomorrow or Friday, to definitely give the financial aid office a call.
Is that the number that was from earlier?
Yes, the 588-1368 number, or you can send an email.
All right.
Hi, I have a quick question.
Sure.
I was just curious, is there any way to get help for finding housing? So our son, we live in New Hampshire and he doesn't want to drive back and forth. Is there anyone that can kind of help us get him like rent a bedroom or anything like that?
Yes, so we unfortunately don't offer housing at BFIT, but we do have the Office of Student Wellness and Support. So Emma Michalowski is the director of that office. She has all the external resources that a student would need. So yes, if he's looking to find a roommate, looking for an apartment here in Greater Boston, I'm sure she can direct him to some resources.
Thank you. Do you have a phone number for her? And did you say it was Michalowski?
Michalowski, Michalowski, first name Emma.
Great. Yeah, do you have a phone number by any chance?
Unfortunately, I don't have that on me offhand, but if you put your question in the chat, we can certainly get that information back out to you.
Oh, great. I think we did.
Okay.
Go ahead, put that in there.
Sure.
But great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another quick question. Sorry.
Sure.
So, for example, I'm going for automotive. I was wondering, does the FAFSA or the school grants, do they offer if let's say I complete the automotive for bachelor's, can I go for my master's and PhD, if that's possible?
Graduating for BFIT, and yes, you wanted to go into grad school and further your education, you can apply for financial aid, yes, all the way up through a doctorate program.
Could I do it at Benjamin Franklin?
No, we do not offer programs above a bachelor's. So grad,
Okay, I see.
would definitely be transferring to another institution. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to get started on the fact and fiction, because again, there are just some good statements here that again you might have already heard, but I want to make sure that everyone knows what's true from what is not true. So you can either in the chat or unmute yourself. Again, admissions team can kind of pick and see who wants to answer these questions. Don't be afraid. If you think you know the answer, please give it out, because again, we're all learning together and you definitely could be helping some of the other participants. So the first fact or fiction is if you apply for financial aid, you will not have to make any out-of-pocket payments to the college. Is that a fact or is that fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction.
Fiction. Any facts out there, or are we going with fiction?
We're going with fiction.
Okay, and going with fiction is kind of the answer, but it could be both depending on the situation. So again, as I had said before, with financial aid, it's going to vary from student to student, and it can actually vary from year to year. So if you're a student who has, full financial need as determined by FAFSA, you still might have very little costs, or, if you're receiving grants, scholarships, loans, and other funds on top of that, you might be able to have all of your expenses covered. Or you could be a student who has very little financial need. And in that case, yes, you would definitely need to consider some type of financing option to cover those out-of-pocket costs. So it could be both, depending on who the student is. The next statement: if my parents don't claim me on their taxes, I don't have to add them and their income to my FAFSA factor.
Fiction.
One for fiction. Any facts? Going once, going twice. That is fiction. There's only, again, a certain Very small amount of circumstances where the FAFSA will not require parental information. If you think that might pertain to you, depending on what your family situation is, again, I would suggest that you contact our office and have a more detailed conversation with one of our enrollment service team members, and they can direct you or maybe ask other questions to see, are you a student who actually qualifies for independent status where we don't need your parents' information? Or is it a situation where you actually do need to provide your parents' situation? And again, it's hard to just give a blanket yes or no, but if you have a question about that, because again, right, there could be different living situations, there could be issues that are not reflected on the FAFSA that you feel the school should know about. Either way, you definitely want to give us a call or an email. The next statement is you can repay your loans after you graduate from BFIT, fact or fiction.
Fact.
Fact, any fiction? Fact, good. If everyone's listening. That is a fact. For your federal loans, you do have a 6-month grace period after you graduate. If you ever have to take a private loan, that grace period might be a little bit different. But essentially what the federal government says is, okay, you've just finished school, you've graduated, you've gotten your degree, your certificate, and you've gotten a job. That's what we're all hoping is going to be the outcome. Well, if you're just working now a new job or any other life circumstances, you're relocating, you're starting a family, you might need a good 6 months to kind of get things settled, get your bills in order, get other finances where they need to be. They give you that time so that you're not making those payments right away. But yes, for your federal loans, you are given a 6-month time before you're required to make any payments. Next statement, your financial aid package will not change once it has been awarded to you, fact or fiction.
May you repeat that?
Yes, your financial aid package will not change once it has been awarded to you, fact or fiction.
Fact.
One fact, any naysayers?
There's one naysayer in the chat.
Okay, one naysayer. The answer is it is fiction. Your award can change once it has been sent to you, and it can be for a couple of reasons. At BFIT, we automatically package everyone for full-time status, but again, you might decide in September, I don't want to take 12 credits, I'm going to go part-time or I'm going to go half-time. Once we get that information from the registrar that you've changed your credit load, we then have to do a review of your aid package. And I will say this about the Massachusetts state grant: if you go less than 12 credits, even if you're down to 11, the state considers you less than full-time, you then are no longer eligible for the Mass grant. So unfortunately, that's one of the funds that it's great if you get it, but you definitely have to stay full-time or else the state will they'll deem you ineligible for those funds. Other parts of your financial aid award, your Pell Grant, your institutional funds, your loans, those all depend on what your enrollment status is. So again, we want you to enroll in classes and have a credit load that's going to be, suitable for you, that you're going to be able to balance work and family and everything else. But if you do need to make a change, you want to contact the financial aid office ASAP so that we can let you know if that award is going to stay the same or if there are going to be changes that need to be made. The next statement is you have to complete the FAFSA each year that you are enrolled, fact or fiction.
Three facts in the chat.
Facts. Well, let's see.
4.
4. Those are correct. That is a fact.
5.
5. Now that I think about that statement, based on what I just said a few minutes ago, it also probably should be semi-fiction because you don't have to apply for financial aid, but it's always a good idea. There's plenty of students that don't complete a FAFSA because they have other financing options, that they want to use instead. But at BFIT, we're always going to encourage you to do your FAFSA. We're going to encourage you to do it ahead of the state deadline. And as some of you might already know, the FAFSA opens up October 1st each year. So hypothetically, you can start at BFIT in September of this year, and then within just a few short weeks, apply for financial aid for the next September of 2022. So yes, every year that you're in school and you want the Pell Grant, or you want to be considered for the Mass State Grant, or you want to be considered for loans and any other kind of donor-based funds, BFIT has, this year we've gotten a ton of money from very charitable individuals and organizations that want to help students with their educational costs. So if you want to be considered for any of those, then the answer is yes, you do need to complete your FAFSA each year.
I have 2 questions, if it's okay. So the first question is for the FAFSA, is it a long period to complete, or is it quick and easy?
If you have everything that is available. So if you've already established your FSA ID and you have that login credential, if you already have all of your income and tax information for 2019, start to finish, if you're an independent student where you don't need parents' information, I would say, give yourself 20 to 30 minutes. You might be that long, but it's short. If you're a dependent student and you have both parent and student sections to complete, again, maybe give yourself an hour. If you have everything available to you, though, it should not take that long. But if you're running into an issue or you don't know how to answer a certain question and it's during business hours, give our office a call and, we can certainly help you through that. But no, anything like, 2 or 3 hours to complete, it really can be done, in a short amount of time.
Thank you. And my second question, my second question is about a previous scene that you were talking about. You're inside the school for when you're taking your whatever you're going for, and you're going to the school for within 1 year of the school. One of my friends told me that BFIT offers a workplace for you also while you're going for, like, for example, if you're going for automotive, within that 1 year of school, they offer you a place to work. By like as you're working, like if you're working.
Let me jump in. So all of the programs that we currently offer are in high demand. So it's not uncommon that if a student is in one of our associate degree programs, that one of our industry partners would look to hire that student after their first year with intentions of potentially hiring them after they graduate. So that is something that a lot of our students, they do have. A lot of our students are working after that first year that are going into the second year because, some of our industry partners have came down and hired, or, students do have that ability to do so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And the last statement, colleges do not accept appeal letters asking for an increase in financial aid, fact or fiction? Want to jump in and take a stab at this one? It's the last one.
Fiction. 3 fictions.
Fiction. Definitely fiction. I want to let everybody know that BFIT definitely will accept appeal letters. But if you're submitting an appeal, you need to know as much information as possible. So again, once you get your award letter, if you're looking at your options and you think that, I need an extra $2,000, or, you need something in addition to make it work, let us know right away. I can't sit here and say that every appeal is going to be guaranteed either for the amount that you're asking or, at all. But the only way for us to know is if you submit that letter. And again, depending on the situation, if, again, because we're living in COVID times, people have been out of work. Folks have had, living situations that have changed. You've had work situations that have changed. Finances are really, stressed. So we totally understand that. And we expect that there will be students who, are going to need extra assistance. If you find that you're in that situation, please let us know as soon as possible. And a typical appeal will, be a formal letter. You definitely want to go into detail. I usually say no less than a page, no more than 2, giving us, the full situation of what's going on, answering those questions, who is in need of the help, who, what, when, where, why, what is the situation? Why are you submitting the appeal? And what are you actually asking for? A lot of times we get appeal letters and, you have 4 students that say they need additional help, but I have no way of knowing what that dollar amount is. One student might only need, $400. Another student might need $4,000. So if you're submitting an appeal, definitely be very explicit in your ask. Because again, if we don't know how much you're looking for, and it's going to make the difference between